The Wall Street Journal recently put you first on its list of Putin's American cheerleaders. How did you feel about that?
I didn't even see that, so interesting that you tell me. It's not exactly my point. My point has been for years, let's avoid this war and let's stop the war in Ukraine. It's not a matter of cheerleading, it's a matter of common sense. I go back to this issue more than 30 years. I was an economic advisor to President Gorbachev's team, and then President Yeltsin's team, President Kuchma's team in Ukraine. So I've known this landscape for more than 30 years. And my view is that this war was completely avoidable and could have been ended. It could have been avoided entirely for years and years and could have been ended in March 2022, but it persists because we don't have a sensible approach.
But isn't the reality that Putin always wanted to get his hands on Ukraine? He's now got his hands on Ukraine by killing a lot of Ukrainians and invading the country illegally, invading a sovereign democratic country illegally. And whatever his protestations about NATO encroachment and so on, this is, of course, exactly why Ukraine wanted to be part of NATO, and that perhaps the biggest mistake Ukraine made was to give up its nuclear weapons.
Well, I think the mistake is that Ukraine should have been a neutral buffer between Russia and NATO, and that's how it started out as an independent state in 1991. The United States had its eye on getting Ukraine into the U.S. orbit already from 1992. Zbig Brzezinski spelled it out in 1997. Many people thought this was a path to disaster, and it's turned out to be a path to disaster. So it's very sad. It could have been peaceful and neutral and independent, and that wasn't good enough for the United States. And I understand completely why Russia wouldn't want NATO on the 2,000-kilometer border of Ukraine and Russia. So it's just very sad, very predictable. George Kennan called it exactly in 1997. Interestingly, our current CIA director, Bill Burns, who was in 2008 the U.S. ambassador to Russia, sent back a famous memo called "Niet means Niet." No, don't do it. It's not just Putin, it's the entire political class that absolutely rejects Ukraine and NATO. And we should have been prudent, but we're not very prudent. We had our designs, and we have walked into a disaster. But more than that, we talked Ukraine into a complete disaster.